Welcome to IGI's 5th Dive-In Festival. Why do we choose Dive-In every year? Because like IGI, Dive-In is global. It also sheds light on one of the most important issues in our industry, diversity and inclusion. Every year, we organize one event. At IGI, we have 7 offices spread over 4 continents. So this year, we chose to sponsor 3 events over 3 geographic locations: in Amman, Jordan, in London, UK, and in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. By DNA, we are diverse in color, religion, ethnicity. And our culture is that of inclusivity, empowerment, and respect.
Braver Cultures is the theme of this year's Dive-In. The pandemic was a test to organizations, and those that prospered and prevailed had the culture that fostered empathy and work-life balance. In Amman, IGI has partnered with the Harvard Student University Academy and offered 10 scholarships for high-achieving youths to participate in a business management program.
In London, IGI, in partnership with Eames Group, will generate some vital discussion around the lack of women in C-suite positions and boardrooms.
In Kuala Lumpur, IGI will sponsor a rugby game for 45 women to show support for women in a male-dominated sport.
All our events highlight in one way or another women's careers across the span of their lives. Hence, we named it Phases and Places. We hope you will enjoy the following coverage of our events.
Equality is a priority.
Jen, but this time we thought we would include the younger. So you guys are the future. You are what will make the world. IGI has been named country lead for the Dive-In Festival in Jordan, having organized it there for 5 consecutive years now. All future events to be organized in Jordan under the Dive-In initiative will be led by IGI. For this year's Dive-In, IGI teamed up with the Harvard University Students Academy for a truly unique opportunity for IGI employees and their children, placing their well-being as a priority. 10 lucky candidates between the ages of 17 and 20 years took part in a 1-week entrepreneurship program at the IGI headquarters in Amman, Jordan. They were taught and guided by Harvard students who volunteer every year to mentor youth around the world. The young participants were guided step by step on how to create a business plan from A to Z in order to market their innovative business ideas.
Put a board on the water. It's an extreme sport. And I used to go down there every weekend.
For example, we have Jordanians, Palestinians, Egyptians, Indians.
The candidates were split into 2 groups, and each had to come up with a succinct plan for a creative business idea. The first was a state-of-the-art online funeral service, which offered a platform to access all funeral services, a project still new to Jordan. The second project idea was for an online sports games platform, which allowed users to schedule sport matches and fixtures and book venues. And much like the popular TV show Dragon's Den, the IGI candidates had to create a tangible business plan worthy of pitching to potential investors. Why did IGI do this? It is because we believe in providing the resources and tools to support future generations and equip them with the right skills to succeed.
Great! I'm so excited to meet you all.
Now there are more opportunities than ever to explore different types of career paths, and we wanted to show youth that the insurance sector is a worthy contender. All participants, upon the completion of the program, received achievement certificates from the Harvard Academy, and their IGI proud parents attended the graduation ceremony. In London, IGI teamed up with a specialist global insurance recruitment and executive search agency, Eames Group, to uncover the main barriers that prevent women from progressing to positions of power in the insurance industry. The reason for the survey was simple. We cannot escape the fact that women are still underrepresented in senior management positions. Organizations, including Lloyd's of London, have set targets for 20% of boards and executive committees roles to be held by women by the end of 2023. But are targets enough? Or do we need to have braver cultural conversations about how to make boardrooms more inclusive for good? IGI and Eames Group developed a 17-question survey to kickstart the broad exploration of the subject and received responses from the UK, Bermuda, the US, the Middle East, and Asia Pacific. The most stark findings from the report included that 80% of respondents admitted they were concerned about the lack of women in executive and boardroom positions. More than a quarter felt that boardrooms were not welcoming of women. And more than 90% believed that having children impacted a woman's chances of joining the more senior ranks. The statistics are very clear. There are just not enough women in senior positions in the insurance and reinsurance sector. Despite industry initiatives and best intentions, the current pace of change is too slow, and the industry simply cannot afford to waste the talents of another generation of women. We want to generate some vital discussion around the lack of women in boardrooms and to gain a better understanding of some of the blockers women face in the workplace. Our survey addresses childcare, menopause, and workplace culture and aims to garner both women and men's perceptions of the barriers to women's progression. We thank all of our respondents for taking the time to respond and add to the conversation. So let's look at the results. The demographics of who answered the survey are interesting, and the results may be skewed by geography, gender, age, and the seniority levels of the respondents. Most of the respondents were in the UK, Bermuda, the US, and the Middle East, which is a reflection of the survey organizers and the groups who helped distribute the survey. Results were geographically varied, matching the global nature of the market. Around 41% were from the UK, around 28% from Bermuda, 14% from the Middle East, 12% from the US, and 3.8% from Europe, and finally 1.27% from APAC. On the question, what type of business do you work for? Of the 158 people who responded, 75% were market practitioners, of which 65% were carriers or underwriters, 5.7% were brokers, 3.8% worked in MGAs, 24.68% were service providers, and less than 1% worked in the legal profession. As for gender, the majority, 88.54% of respondents were female and 11.46% were male. As for age, nearly 78% of respondents were aged under 45, which is understandable as there are fewer women further up the command chain. And just 22% were over 46. The breakdown is as follows. Under 35, around 40%. Ages 36 to 45, around 38%. Ages 46 to 54, around 14%. and over 55, 8.23%. As for the employment status question, the majority, around 97% of respondents were in full-time employment, with only 2 respondents, 1.27% working part-time, 2 respondents freelancing, and only 1 not currently working. To the question, what stage of your career are you currently at? We had a high level of engagement from senior executives, with 67.73% of respondents in C-suite, board, VP positions. The breakdown of this percentage was 12.66% at C-suite, executive committee, board level, 1.27% non-executive board members, 24.68% at senior vice president level, 12% at senior manager or assistant vice president level, and 17% at manager level. As for the 32.28% in associate or junior levels, of these, around 20% were at associate level and 12% at entry level or junior. To the question, do you have women in your company who occupy executive boardroom positions? Over 60% said they had a few, i.e. less than 10% women in senior positions. Around 30% of respondents said they had a good representation of women in their executive and boardroom positions. 9.5% said they had no women, and on the other side of the spectrum, only 4% said they had lots of senior women in the organization. Are you concerned about the lack of female representation for these positions in insurance? When asked this question, almost 80% said they were concerned. Of those, 43% said they were very concerned, and 35% said they were a bit concerned. Only 7% said they were not concerned at all. Do you think insurance boardrooms are welcoming environments for women? To that question, more than 25% said they thought that these boardrooms were not welcoming environments for women. Of this percentage, around 11% said boardrooms were not at all welcoming, and 15% said that they are not that welcoming. We had many additional opinion responses to this question. A number of respondents said that they thought the addition of women in the boardroom was a box-ticking exercise. Here is what one wrote. Women are being invited in because of regulatory scrutiny around board diversity, not because execs necessarily want them there. Another one wrote, females appointed to the board are too often seen as token appointments. Many respondents pointed to a number of factors contributing to an off-putting environment for women, including casual sexism in its various guises or a lack of role models. One wrote, I'm a member of the media and recently returned from an insurance conference. While interviewing figureheads and C-suite members, on at least 2 occasions my appearance was commented on. It seemed like a compliment to them, but it was casually sexist and even offensive. If this is what a joke in the insurance industry in 2022 looks like, then I dread to think what boardroom environments are like for women. Another one wrote, the experiences I hear from women who do have board experience is that they are hostile and alpha environments. Men on boards I have spoken to have said they have often seen a woman come up with a good idea, but it is only really taken up when it is echoed by a man. Another one wrote, I've been grilled by an all-male panel at board level on more than one occasion and find it intimidating, and it puts me off seeking a promotion. Another one said, it is still a very heavily male-dominated industry, even though the majority of the clerical roles are driven by women. One wrote, I have walked into many boardrooms and they have all been 100% men, and white men. It can be intimidating. I've been asked to get coffee, although I was presenting. This is just walking into a boardroom, so not sure about working hand in glove, but generally they are a tight-knit group who all know each other and are from similar backgrounds. Very often, they have not worked with senior women before. Another one wrote, I think many of the social aspects of the job are very male-centered, such as going golfing or going to the horse races. The majority involve drinking or sports, and this is where people make connections and network. I find it harder as a female to get involved in these types of events. I also worry about in the future, if I want to have kids, if I would still have the time to attend these networking events that can take up time outside of work. Company culture and mindset of the CEO was also mentioned. One wrote, still feels like a club that you have to fit in to get anywhere based on who you know rather than your skills. Another one, I believe it is more difficult for women to move up because women face a dichotomy when starting a family, raising children, and having a career. Another one wrote, various women have told me they feel they have to be brave to be in the boardroom. They're walking into a group of men who have likely invariably all grown up together, have social gatherings together, and a very strong bond. However, not all comments were negative. Some of the more positive ones were, I think the industry has changed to be more progressive and inclusive, recognizing that diversity is a benefit to the company. Another one wrote, I would not say it was particularly welcoming due to the mainly male presence. However, I have never felt unwelcome, but I think it is important to distinguish this. One wrote, I have been lucky enough to work in companies who have women in executive leadership roles. However, it is still a male-dominated and old-school industry. I am happy to see it evolving. We asked our respondents to rank a list of suggested reasons for why the industry does not have more boardroom female representation in order of relevance, with 1 being the more likely or relevant reason and 12 being the least likely or relevant. It was interesting to note that no one single reason held more votes than any other. The order of reasons is as follows. The most relevant 3 reasons were lack of defined career pathways for women, poor recruitment process, lack of role models inspiring the next generation. And the least likely reasons were lack of network for women, lack of women with sufficient experience for roles, and lack of women qualified for roles. As with any complex systematic problem, the contributing factors are many and varied. All the above reasons were given almost equal importance by our respondents. These results suggest that solving the problem of female representation in the boardroom and in senior positions will require a cultural change in the insurance industry. We will need to set goals that are not only effort-consuming, but that also require strong leadership and tenacity. Taking time out to have children has the most significant impact on a woman's ability to succeed at work, with an overwhelming 90% of respondents agreeing. Of that percentage, over 66% said taking time out to raise a child very much impacts careers, while 23% said it slightly impacts. Many respondents said that taking time off not only involves caring for children, but also for elderly relatives. This can sometimes happen at the same time. More often than not, the responsibility of caring for children and other relatives falls to the woman. Here are what some women wrote. Women with children can succeed, but it will take longer compared to women with no children. Another one wrote, culture needs to change. It should be more acceptable for the man or the other partner to take this leave. It doesn't feel like we're there yet. Another one wrote, still a stigma associated with being out of work for so long. Another one said, Caring responsibilities do not have to be gender specific. More could be done to encourage and motivate men to be equal partners in this. One respondent said, "The mental load that working mothers carry is huge. The amount of stress and work they carry is hugely underestimated and unsupported." Another one wrote, "I've heard of women being blacklisted for taking 2 maternity leaves back to back." Another one said, "I think that women can be overlooked for roles as it is assumed that they will take time out to have children." Another response was, "Maternity discrimination. Sometimes you don't get your job back. Sometimes you miss out on promotions." Our next 2 questions tackle the thorny and somewhat taboo topic of menopause. Data from global consulting firm Spencer Stewart suggested 92% of insurance CEOs in the UK were male in 2018, with the average age of a CEO being 53. A number of commentators have suggested that menopause and perimenopause and postmenopause may play a role in why there are fewer women in the boardroom. Perimenopause typically starts in women's 40s, although some can experience it in their 30s. Symptoms of menopause go beyond hot flushes. Women often experience heightened levels of anxiety, tiredness, brain fog, depression, and a lack of confidence in their abilities, all of which can be exacerbated by a lack of support and understanding from those around them. We asked if firms should make more provisions to support women going through perimenopause and menopause. Overwhelmingly, over 74% of respondents said yes. 24% were neutral and just over 1% said no. Do you think being more supportive around the menopause issue could contribute to encouraging more women in boardrooms? When asked this, 47% said yes and 40% said possibly. For too long, menopause has simply been a private matter. As a result, it is rarely discussed, and many executives will have no awareness of the issues involved. This means that many women hide their symptoms, and many may be unwilling to ask for help. Has your firm participated in a returner scheme? A returning scheme is a bespoke training program intended for those returning to work after a career break. Various return to work schemes are being offered by both private and public sector enterprises to support experienced professionals on their journey back to work. Only 15% of respondents said they had a returner scheme, but 42% said they did not know. When asked if a returner scheme would encourage a greater representation of women in boardrooms, more than 61% said yes, but 27% said that they did not know. We asked about the impact regulation will have on the number of women in the boardroom. When asked, to what extent do you agree that insurance firms won't really address the gender disparity in boardrooms until regulators and shareholders demand it, over 77% agreed, with 36% of respondents saying they totally agree and 40% saying they somewhat agree. Only less than 10% disagreed. Finally, we asked what one thing companies should be doing to improve female representation at board level. We had a number of responses, some of which are to invest in coaching and mentoring for women and increase the flexibility of board positions, to develop inclusive succession planning that clearly lays out a path for women from an early stage of her career. Another suggestion was to start to filter out the male, pale and stale board members who have outlived their seat at the table but are reluctant to move on. Some other suggestions included improving pathways for women to take on executive roles, to better support women during maternity leave and with childcare, to have more male sponsors for women, to invest in the recruitment process aiming to attract and retain the best talent regardless of gender, race, etc., allowing a hybrid working environment for carers, and finally, mandating it. We would like to thank all of our respondents and the D&I communities which supported us and sent the survey out to their members. Link, the LGBTQ community in the insurance industry, the Ladies That Lunch Collective, an industry movement to professionally develop underrepresented women in the insurance industry. Also thanks to Women in Boards UK, a network of diverse non-executive director board members, and to Women in Reinsurance Bermuda, a community dedicated to promoting the professional development of women working in Bermuda's reinsurance market. The topic of female representation in senior positions and in the boardroom in the global insurance sector is an important issue, illustrated by the many additional and elaborate information the survey respondents offered in addition to ticking the boxes. The key is culture, and the critical success factor for initiating and driving this change is leadership. The ultimate winners will be the insurance companies who identify and leverage all of the talent and the innovative ideas available to them. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as we enjoyed organizing these events. Until we meet you again, to next year's Dive In, goodbye.